NBA regular season done, NHL playoffs underway. Teeing off at the Heritage today. Number one WNBA draft pick expected to be selected from Columbia. Quite the Thursday. Welcome in. ESPN not high on Gamecock football headed into 2018. You can throw that in as a side story as well. All of that and Gamecock baseball getting going against Arkansas. SEC Network, I believe, where you can watch it tonight. And one of those Thursday, Friday, Saturday series. Number 3, number 2, depends where you want to look at Arkansas. Tonight's game starts at 7 o'clock. You can listen to our coverage starting at 6:45 right here on 107.5 The Game. But television tonight on the SEC Network, and then you got to go to the SEC Network Plus on Friday and Saturday. Friday's game set for 7:30 start. Saturday will be a 3 p.m. start for our time. Any kind of success that the Gamecocks could have over the weekend would be a huge boon for this team, with Arkansas playing as well as it has and being at home and Baum Stadium being a difficult place for anybody to go in and win. The Gamecocks do take a little momentum, winning 12-1 in Charleston over the Citadel on Tuesday night. Last night, or yesterday and last night in the big leagues, interesting day of a couple of brawls, a couple of charging the mound incidents, one in the National League, one in the American League. Yankees-Red Sox obviously headlines that thing, but you also had the Rockies and the Padres getting after it. That leads us to today's poll question, Bill. What's the dumbest move in sports? The fact that this still happens in baseball is crazy. So you got charging the mound, taking a charge in the NBA as well, faking an injury in soccer, and punching a helmet in football. Now, you lobbied here internally to get taking a charge in on this list. Can you please defend why you think that's the one of, if not the dumbest move in sports?
It's definitely the dumbest move in sport. Taking a charge in the NBA. All right, let's break this down. You're going to take a charge in the NBA, and I'm shocked. I mean, think like punching a helmet is. I guess it depends on where you, because I can kind of go with faking an injury just in terms of you're like, man, it's dumb. What are you doing? But taking a charge in the NBA in terms of your personal health, those are really big boys out there, like really big physical boys. And you're going to tell me it's worth stopping 2 points to put your body, and I realize you're a really big boy if you're in the NBA and you're taking a charge, but you're going to put your body at risk in the middle of a regular season game to get run over by somebody going to the basket for 2 points. Like, that is, you run the risk of a significant injury. Significant injury.
Can you name one?
No, you know why? Because nobody takes charges in the NBA. Think about when was the last time you saw somebody take a charge. Not only that, the way the NBA is kind of played, and again, there's a respect, I think, by most players. If you take a charge, generally, you're also putting the other player in danger because he could come down and land awkwardly on his hand, his wrist. Something could happen. I mean, think about, and you don't watch a lot of NBA, so it's hard for, I need Pearson for this conversation. When was the last time you saw somebody on purpose, not accidentally got in the way, but on purpose, come across the lane, get outside of the little extended area, and take a charge?
I saw it go horribly wrong 2 nights ago. Not from an injury standpoint, from a embarrassment standpoint. I believe it was DeAndre Liggins. Is that his name? Tried to take it from Sindarius Thornwell and got dunked on, and I think they called the foul on.
Also, that could happen. Do you see my
There's a pretty high probability of that happening.
There is honestly nothing good that comes from taking a charge in an NBA game. Now, you can make the excuse there's nothing good that comes from punching a helmet. I'm totally with you on that. And that is.
But you understand that. Like, I understand that. It's just an emotional thing.
Right.
It's a natural reaction. If someone gets under your skin enough times and you're that revved up, like, no one's arguing that that's a smart move afterwards. No one's saying, like, yeah, I'm really glad that I did that. That was the proper move at the time. But we all understand that.
I'm trying to think. Who was the receiver this year that was going against, I want to say, Jalen Ramsey? There's a big-time receiver. I have to go back and A.J. Green, thank you.
Right.
Who is on fire this morning. But, yeah, A.J. Green, who just, like, all of a sudden snapped and is, like, throwing punches and then just grabs him in a choke hold and, like, is wrestling him to the ground. Yeah, you're right. That at least I can kind of understand. But in a regular season NBA game, you're trying to take away 2 probably meaningless points, and you're running the risk of a significant injury because those are big dudes, big physical dudes, and you're not landing on grass when you fall backwards. Like, you're landing on a hard court. There's nothing. There's nothing good. The faking of injury is dumb just because of how it looks, especially in soccer. But like we've seen football players fake injuries to slow down an offense, right?
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden they just fall down and they're cramping up, and then the next thing you know, they're running off perfectly fine. The trainers aren't assisting them. Like we've seen that, but taking a charge, it doesn't seem. Charging the mound, you might win that one. And if somebody pegs you, it's 50-50. I mean, it depends on, I guess it's depending on if I'm charging the mound against, say, Randy Johnson, it's not 50-50. But charging the mound, you get pegged, you're going to go stand up for your honor. Maybe the dude did it on purpose.
Yeah, but it always seems so dumb. I see the look in the eye for like the first 3 strides. It seems like a really smart move, and then I feel like the look changes, and they're like, "Oh, what am I going to do now?"
Yeah, it's kind of like a game of chicken. Like you take off running, and if the pitcher doesn't run away from you,
or even if he does, then you got to start looking for other guys coming at you in other ways. Like the catcher's first of all right on your tail,
right,
and then the dugout starts.
The
first baseman,
the
third
first
baseman.
and the third baseman are closing in from the corners, and your goal is to basically hold your own until your dugout gets there.
I mean, think about this. You're standing out there. There is one other guy out on the field who's on your team. If there's assuming there's nobody on base, which is usually the case, right? And he's in the on deck circle, way behind you.
That's my point. You're going out there.
It's 1 on 9.
You're surrounded. Well, the odds that the outfielders are probably further away.
It's true.
Than your dugout. So
okay, let's go 1 on 5.
Essentially, yeah, you're going 1 on 5, and your goal is to maybe jockey just long enough to show that you're big, bad, and mean until your dugout can get there to support you.
To do what? To hold people back and pretend like they're like on your team and like push a little bit, and then maybe if they have a personal beef with the other dude that goes back years, they'll get in his face.
I always
and
remember the pointing and the jawing.
Right.
It's just the pointing. But at least I kind of grasp that. Like you're going out, you've been pegged. You're not going out because you walked, or you're not going out because you're struck out.
One of the brawls yesterday, the guy didn't even get hit. They threw behind him.
Well, that's a warning signal.
Yeah, but you haven't been hurt at all. And now you're going to put your $1 million salary in jeopardy, in risk and injury.
Right.
That's almost the worst case scenario is if the pitcher doesn't move or backpedal like we saw yesterday with the quickest backpedal of all time.
He comes back at you, you're like, oh, this is...
Right. If he's just like, he throws down the glove and he rubs his hands together and he's just ready to go, like that would be the worst reaction I would think you might get from a pitcher.
But again, that one you can kind of maneuver where there's not a whole lot of injury involved. Maybe you just run out there, and again, you kind of slow it down a tad, and you square off as to where nobody gets hit.
Never happens.
But in the NBA, when you go take a charge, there's going to be some significant physical contact, and one of two things is going to happen. You're going to either get injured or you're going to get dunked on, and you're going to be on SportsCenter basically for the next 2 days. There's nothing good that comes of taking a charge in the NBA, it's especially during the regular season, because what did you just defend? You're not defending your honor. When you throw a punch in football, at least, okay, you're probably defending your honor. Somebody probably said something to you about your mama. You're defending somebody. And
Sir, you have besmirched my honor. Yeah. I must defend it.
You have hurt the family name. I'm not going to stand for that.
Beware of my fist.
Punch you in the helmet, or maybe throw an uppercut and get underneath the helmet. Baseball, you've been pegged. You're now angry. You've sustained a little bit of injury. Soccer, you fall down with an injury. That's just embarrassing. That's just is what it is. But basketball, and you're doing it in the course of a game when you're going to get run over. I mean, you're going to physically. I get it in college when it's all about the name on the front of the jersey, and in high school when it's all about the heart. The NBA, you don't take a charge. I mean, again, go back. How many? I wonder, Jordan, see if you can research this. How many charges were taken in the NBA this season? 82. There's 82 regular season games. I would guess. There's 82 regular season games for each team. I would estimate there was less than 200 charges taken.
And you got 240 games per team?
Yeah.
Do the math. That's ridiculous, right? So you got 30 teams. That's 240. Oh, I can't even do the math.
Wait, would you say ridiculous. 240? I don't know. How'd you get to 240?
Sorry. So you got 30 teams playing 82 games is how I did that math. So you got all that involved.
Exactly.
I guess if you play, you got to do that by half.
I don't know. Yeah, the point being there is a lot of games that get played this year, and I can pretty much guarantee you that maybe there was less than 200. I would almost venture to say it was less than 150, 100 charges. People know they're not going to do that.
Craig sends us a picture of that Sindarius Thornwell dunk the other night. He says he gives a write-in vote to catching an 8-yard pass for a first down, getting up, giving the arm straightened first down signal when you're down 47-3. Yeah, the unnecessary celebrations in football, that's an excellent write-in nomination on today's Frank's Discount Tire poll question. At Tim Hill 1075, again, where you can go and vote. Brandon hits us up on the Shepherd's Glass inbox as well, says punching a helmet is instant gratification to instant regret in no time. At least flopping makes me laugh, Brandon says. Yeah, we thought about putting in just flopping, so I'm guessing he's talking about the soccer flop. The basketball flop is also very prevalent these days, at least less now than it used to be, I think, going back 5 years ago or so. They try to clean it up in basketball pretty well. Just getting started here in hour number 2, an hour that will include our student section segment where we're going to get a couple of USC soon-to-be graduating seniors. John and Claudia will join us. We'll let them weigh in on some things that are going on around the USC campus. Number 1 overall pick, Asia Wilson, expected to go first in tonight's WNBA drafts. We got a couple of baseball games, benches clearing brawls yesterday. That's what you would call it. I always feel like the brawl is way overhyped.
But don't you like the guy in the dugout who trots out because he knows he has to be out there to support his team, but he's always the last one.
The body language is amazing.
Barely
in those
gets
situations.
to the foul lines. They got it, Kentucky. I came out, I supported,
right.
But
it's like, obligatory. If I don't come out here, I'm in big trouble. Okay, guys, looking good.
Or the guy who goes a little bit more in depth and he just runs behind somebody and kind of puts his hand on the back like, I see everything going on in there.
Well,
it's all good.
Yeah, what about a guy who waits until things are kind of already taken care of and then acts like he's getting in it or involved or escalating things and he knows nothing's going to happen.
Right.
Come on, man.
Very smart.
What are you doing? Right now, just getting 1% of the early vote, the charging the mound. Also, you're taking a charge at 1% of the early vote.
Yeah, I get where people are going with the punching of the helmet because that's, you don't, it's like punching a wall. You don't, it's dumb. I get it. But again, the reason you're doing that is because you've had words with the person in front of you or he's, again, insulted your family. Or something. Okay, I can kind of understand
Craig
that.
said, defending your honor. That's how you put it earlier. What is this, Karate Kid?
Yeah. You take the glove off, smack him in the face a couple times,
We noticed we didn't put sweeping the leg on there. Now, that would be a good move.
Okay. But I haven't seen that in sports in quite some time.
True.
I've seen it probably
so iconic.
A little bit more frequently than the charge.
Faking an injury in soccer is in second place in today's Frank's Discount Tire poll question. A solid second place.
All right, I would like to hear the statistics that the intern has come up with here.
Turn his mic on, get them all set up.
What do you got for me? Because I said
things.
over under of 200 on charges, right?
Right. You're talking about NBA regular season in the entire league, charges taken. The intern's been hard at work on both his tablet and his cell phone, as only interns do, and it's not working. Of course, Bill doesn't have you set up for some reason because that's what Bill does. He just makes demands.
Okay, so
now we got him. Fantastic.
12 players that I found on this list that's not in order, so there could be higher charges taken later. Just 12 players. I've got 214 charges taken.
This season?
Yes, and DeMarcus Cousins took 26 himself, and he only played 46 games before he tore his Achilles. And the greatest Hornet of all time, Kemba Walker, took 19 charges.
Right, this is why we don't let turn that mic off.
That's stupid.
That's why we don't let them.
Not the Kemba Walker thing, but the fact that a point guard took, or not what he said about Kemba Walker being the all-time greatest, but a point guard taking charges. DeMarcus
Who's the
Cousins,
intern here? What happened? You all right? You're talking about Boogie Cousins being a point guard? What's going on?
No, Kemba Walker taking 19 charges because your point guard. Get out of the way.
You don't have to take him under the basket. Guy. You don't take him under the basket, man.
I think with the Cousins thing with the post players, I feel like that's a charge is you're down there and somebody kind of lowers their shoulder, you're in a proper position. I'm talking about coming. Who did we say it was the other day that tried to take the charge on Thornwell? Mm-hmm. Coming across the lane. You're coming. The guy's coming down the lane. Guys coming from the wing. Guys coming from wherever, and you come across the lane.
DeAndre Liggins.
And you set up shop. And you think, I am going to stop this 2 meaningless points here in the middle of the third quarter.
He's thinking, I will defend this basket's honor. That's what he's thinking.
Well, that's what you're clearly trying to do, and all it results is either an ESPN highlight or an injury.
See, I thought you were going to go that classic media hype, like, no wonder Cousins only played 46 games. He was taking too many charges.
That is a good point. Like, yeah, exactly. That's a great
out.
point. He led the league in charges, and how many games he played? 48. He's out of the league. He didn't play.
Right, because he blew out his Achilles.
Cost his team.
Taking a charge.
Possibly so.
That's one thing you don't usually hear in the pickup basketball games gone wrong these days. Taking a charge is how you blow out your Achilles, fortunately. That doesn't happen so much, but that's one of the worst too. That day we're going to talk about pickup basketball guys, the guys who would take the charges in the pickup basketball games.
And I did I don't know if you saw it come in late yesterday afternoon. We had another tweet on that regarding pickup basketball. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Ryan tweeted in. No, that wasn't it. Oh, somebody, I've lost it. But said that they were playing pickup the night before they heard our segment, and they were 38 years old, and, of course, there was a guy out there playing like nobody else had to be at work the next day.
There's that guy as well. Speaking of that guy, we go to Love Chevrolet phone lines. Boudreaux wants to weigh in on the poll question today. Dumbest move in sports. What do you think, Boudreaux?
Well, look here. First of all, charging the mound, I know it's 9 against 2, but the batter and the guy in the on-deck circle, they got bats, I mean, it ain't got it. There's an equalizer there if they need it,
Good point.
So,
also,
but listen,
I think you get criminal charges if you do that, Jose Offerman.
Well, you could probably get in some trouble. It's probably a felony along with beating somebody with a ball bat, I'm guessing. But anyway, listen here. One of the dumbest things I ever seen anybody do in sports, this ought to be on your list, dumbest thing, is intercepting the football deep on fourth down.
Great call, Boudreaux.
That's the dumbest. You could have had the ball back there on the other team's 30, but instead you're going to intercept the ball on your own 20 for a stat. That's the dumbest thing. It don't get you hurt. Well, it might get you hurt by the coach. Coach might whip that hind end over something dumb like that,
That's a good point.
But,
that's an excellent point,
intercepting the ball on fourth down, pretty dumb there. That's pretty dumb.
Thank you for the phone call. I was
right.
not expecting that very rational, logical response.
He was upset about it. I feel like that happened to him in Madden, where he didn't control the player. He didn't grab control of the player, and his player did that and cost him a game.
He did say he tweaked his back.
Yeah, yesterday he said he was trying to get a field goal through the uprights and tweaked his back. So yeah.
Why I don't understand why this happens. Why doesn't your defensive mindset completely change as a defensive back on fourth down? How hard can it be? Knock it down. Not that hard. Knock it down.
I think it's kind of like in the moment of the game, you're trained to go up and try and catch the ball. I understand what you're saying, but it's also
you need to be trained differently.
But
they need to have the fourth down drills in football.
It's also kind of like the guy who intercepts the pass in the end zone and then tries to take it about 105 yards the other way.
Well, we do have to keep in mind that defensive backs have to be a little off to be a defensive back. You have to have no memory, right?
Well,
so you have to take that into consideration.
Yeah,
Maybe
you got the guy who tries to intercept and then runs around the end zone for a minute looking for the crease to break through and go about 105 yards the other way.
So maybe this poll question should evolve to, because Matthew just hit us up on the Shepherd's Glass inbox and he responded, he says, all of those options sound dumb to me, but if I had to choose one, it's probably charging the mound because you could very easily find yourself on the bottom of a pile you never wanted anything to do with. And you got to remember, I'll add this to Matthew's deals. Spikes in baseball, not the best place to be on the bottom of a pile.
No, you're right. That all of them have their.
But maybe we should change this to what's the dumbest thing you would do or you would not do. What's the first thing you would not do here?
Okay.
Because as dumb as it is, I understand punching somebody in football. I think it's the dumbest, but I understand it probably the most because it's just an emotional reaction. Like, it's not something that you plan out at all. It's somebody that's in your face, has gotten under your skin, and you're just reacting as opposed to charging the mound. And I think we see it in the batter's eyes halfway on the path from the plate to the mound. He figures out, oh, this is dumb. What am I going to do now? I don't have a plan.
Yeah, you can't like stop midway and be like, psych, going to first. Got lost. Took a left turn. Going to first now.
That'll be the new thing, the fake charges. Just checking you, man.
Yeah.
Just wanted to let you know. I might do it next time the whole way.
You feel like if you did that, the catcher would just slap you in the back of the head. Go on down there.
No. He'd send you onto your own dugout. Or it should be an automatic out, an automatic suspension for 3 at-bats, something to that effect. You surprised you're taking in charge in the NBA? Has it got more steam?
I really am. Like, I think people are looking at it as a good kind of like what John was saying there in that segment, that people are looking at as a good, smart, heady basketball play. But in the NBA, I just feel like it's a legitimately coming across the lane. Guys coming down the lane. Frank Booker was really good at this. Now, there's two ways to take a charge. You're moving your feet. The offensive player kind of like pushes you off with his elbow. That's a charge. It's an offensive foul. It's a charge. Obviously, to me, that's a good defensive play. But the one where you see the guy coming down the lane.
You're saying plant. 1, 2. You plant your feet right outside the circle, and you're just going to get thrashed.
I mean, did you ever have to do – you played high school basketball. I did too. I don't remember Bailey making us do the charge drill.
I think we might have had to do it once or twice. It's ridiculous.
You know,
they just run at you full steam.
I like with Bailey. I think we didn't do what I would call the charge drill, but we would do kind of a drill where you had to come across the lane, and Bailey, Coach Harris, didn't want us running into each other. So he would be the guy with the ball. So if you were a starter, he'd kind of come over and just put his elbow up and kind of push you down. Oh, but if you were a backup, all of a sudden he was a big man. Like, I got popped a couple times. I was a smaller guy, but David weighs in. He says also that's an easy way to end up on a poster, as Thornwell almost proved on DeAndre Liggins the other night. I just the punching of the helmet is dumb. All these things are dumb, right? We all agree. They're all dumb.
Well, in case you're just joining us, today's official Frank's Discount Tire poll question: what's the dumbest move in sports? This is coming off of both bench clearing brawls yesterday, because charging the mound is option number 1. Taking a charge in the NBA, Bill is trying to rally some support for as option number 2 today. Faking an injury in soccer and punching a helmet in the NFL. Getting most of the votes this morning, as you might imagine, at Tim Hill 1075 on Twitter, where you can go and officially vote.
See, I mean, again, we're kind of watching some NBA highlights here. Russell Westbrook's coming down the lane. Help side is over on the right side. Do you see them running all the way into the lane to get their chest in front? No. They kind of one step in.
But this is even taken to the next level. This is the last regular season game in the NBA, which had nothing to do, I don't think, with any kind of playoff
And you've got
position.
guys trying to work their way onto a roster or set themselves up for maybe – because there was only one game last night that mattered, right?
Right.
Everything else was decided. You were in, you were out.
Yeah, except the exact positioning in the playoffs. But the Denver-Minnesota game is the one that mattered. It was a play-in game, a play-in, play-out game. And your Minnesota Timberwolves snapped their more than a decade-long playoff-less streak. They won last night in overtime against Denver. So Minnesota gets that 8th spot in the Western Conference. They get the honor of getting eliminated quickly by the Houston Rockets.
And I do appreciate you saying that they're my team, but they're not. I mean, my team is the Heat. We, the Heat, are back in the playoffs, and we're ready for what I think can be a very good run, of course. So we will open up at Philadelphia. It's not an ideal draw, but look, Philly's won, I think, 15 or 16 in a row. They're hot. They're due for a loss. So we've got to open up against them on Saturday night at 8 o'clock. Now, the Timberwolves, who, I'm a fan of, they'll open Sunday at Houston, 9 o'clock.
You can't gloss over, talking about Oklahoma City, that Russell Westbrook grabs 20 rebounds. He needs 16 to average a triple-double. He got 20. And so they're showing a bunch of replays this morning of guys teammates who could have had an opportunity to grab a rebound.
So they were staying out of the way?
Who deferred. It was a smart move. No, I don't think anyone, if you thought that he wasn't going to get 16 last night, I think you're fooling yourself. But to average a triple-double 2 years in a row, just to do it 1 year was ridiculous last year, and it was talked about a bunch. It's the first time since Oscar Robertson. Well, now Russell Westbrook, the first guy to do it 2 years in a row. But because we saw it last year, it gets talked about a lot less. The accomplishment is what it is. It's ridiculous how much validity you give it. Like, he's not even in the MVP conversation this year, right? It's LeBron versus James Harden, and yet he's averaged a triple-double. It's really interesting in how much you value that, because those are almost – they become meaningless stats to a large degree if you can't help your team win. Now, Oklahoma City did win last night, but I think they get, the 4th seed in the Western Conference final?
OKC is the 4th seed. They'll take on the Jazz in the first round.
So not enough to take them to elite status, but that's where the most outstanding player versus the most valuable player gets broken down. And how you vote against LeBron James as the MVP these days, with putting up better numbers than he's basically ever put up at 33 years old, it's beyond me. It's one of those things where Michael Jordan didn't win the MVP every year because we all took him for granted.
Right.
It will be interesting to see how these playoffs roll, if we don't get to, because to me there are 4 teams in the NBA who separated themselves, And you mentioned last year how the playoffs were a bit of a bust, and it was obvious it was going to be the Cavs and the Warriors. And at least there have been some other storylines this year. I'm interested to see how for real the Houston Rockets are as we head into the NBA playoffs.
They're good, and I think that they've got the pieces around James Harden to the guys like Trevor Ariza around them that make that organization go. Now, again, you look at the Western Conference and look, Portland is really good. Damian Lillard, you talk about, again, the playoff NBA basketball has gotten fun. It is fun to watch. It's entertaining. It's intense. Defense picks up, so we'll see how some of this works out. But seeing Anthony Davis in the playoffs with the New Orleans Pelicans and the Utah Jazz have got a good team. I mean, you're talking about the San Antonio Spurs, who have been the foundation, to me, of the NBA for so long, is a 7 seed going against Golden State in the first round. And are you going to – I think Golden State wins, but are you going to really count Greg Popovich out and 50-year-old Tony Parker and 60-year-old Manu Ginobili and LaMarcus Aldridge? I mean, are you really going to count those guys? It's going to be entertaining, and I do this time of year. Going back to it last night, sat down, watched a little bit of playoff hockey, started flipping around. You had the Minnesota Wild game on, and then you had the late game, which was Vegas versus L.A. The one that I was really interested in was a blowout. Pittsburgh, the Penguins, 7-0 over the Flyers, but you go with that. We'll have some baseball tonight, Heritage this afternoon. You mentioned the WNBA draft, and it'll be neat to see Asia Wilson for multiple reasons. One, because she's just a homegrown girl. I mean, we're not talking about a girl who came from Florida or Georgia or North Carolina or somewhere else and helped South Carolina basketball, but you're a girl that a lot of people right here in Columbia have watched for really the last 6 or 7 years, since she was 14 or 15 over at Heathwood Hall, and watched her career. And I think for a lot of people tonight, I don't know if you say it's a culmination of seeing that development from freshman at Heathwood Hall through senior at South Carolina, so the last 8 years, and seeing everything that'll come with that tonight when she should be, what we assume will be the number 1 pick in the WNBA draft.
7 o'clock on ESPN2, where you can watch that. Other USC women's basketball news, Bianca Cuevas-Moore officially transferring from South Carolina to West Virginia, where she'll be a graduate transfer and play immediately for West Virginia over in the Big 12. A lot of guards in the mix at Carolina. One of the reasons that has happened, we've seen a lot of it go the other way for the Gamecocks through the years, especially in the national championship year, where you have a couple of transfers help the Gamecocks win that national championship. And now this is one of the only examples I can remember of a player of significant playing time headed out of Dawn Staley's program. But it does make sense when you're looking at the depth chart. You're looking at who's coming back next season for the Gamecocks.
Well, and Destiny Henderson, one of the top 15 players, the highest rated recruit in South Carolina's class, coming in, and she's a point guard. So you'll have Ty Harris, Destiny Henderson, and we'll just kind of see how that develops.
Cuevas-Moore missing most of last season because of an ACL injury, and will now try to get back to full strength and do it with West Virginia. Looking forward to hearing from you here in hour number 3. Love Chevrolet phone lines, 803-404-6100. We got that Frank's Discount Tire poll question up and rolling at Tim Hill 107.5. Some good alternate dumb plays in sports or dumb moves in sports via the Shepherd's Glass inbox. Dan says, dumbest move in sports, anything that happens in professional wrestling. Then he says, actually check that. Trying to get information out of Bill Belichick is the dumbest move in sports. Michael Beckham says punching a helmet, and it's not even close, but if you're Robin Ventura, then it's charging the mound. It did not work out well against Nolan Ryan. Jimmy D weighed in with the biting your opponent's ear off, the dumbest move in sports. All of those solid write-in nominations. I know how I can get you going. I should have put this in today's Frank's Discount Tire poll question as one of the dumbest thing in sports. Simply bracketology. That should have been in there.
No, come on, man. Lenardi.
How about bracketology?
Don't bring Joe Lenardi into this.
Bracketology in December is by far the dumbest thing in sports. All right. I like it. Jen's on board.
Oh, yeah. Jen's on board.
Fantastic.
Come on, man. You guys, Scrooges.
Wow.
Scrooge,
really
really?
strong.
Both of you.
Strong case. I really feel like I
Grinch.
dropped the ball on that one.
Yeah. I mean, come on, man. Bracketology is great. Matter of fact, Lenardi's latest bracketology for next year is really good. Very, very excited about that.
He's got some pretty good
You are being
prognostications
facetious
for,
about that.
He's
right?
got an early bracketology.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah, he
Tell
does.
me. I mean, that's even.
for what, 2019?
Way too early bracketology. Bracketology, never too early for the first 2019 bracket.
You're being serious, aren't you?
It was put up April 4th. Duke is a 1 seed, Kansas is a 1 seed, Nova and Gonzaga I mean, it's got potentially Gonzaga and Arkansas in the second
his
round.
mic off, please. Now I'm sad I brought it up. We do have some good entries via the Shepherd's Glass
Hold on.
inbox.
For
Stop
Virginia,
playing. You're pointing at me. Thank you for
Virginia
turning
is
it
a
off.
2 seed, so they won't lose the 1 seed again. Virginia is a 2 seed next year.
Oh.
Mark it down.
The young botanist hits us up with anything that the New York Knicks do. Dumbest move in sports. Nate hits us up and says, at least faking an injury will get you a free kick in soccer. Punching a helmet or charging the mound gains nothing. Oh, I disagree to a little bit. Sometimes it'll get you suspension in the NFL if you're really going after it. But it creates a little storyline, creates a little drama between the two teams for sure. And how they handle that moving forward is interesting. And that's how it is in baseball. Because that was a weird thing yesterday. 2 different charging the mound situations. I get it in late July, especially if you have history. The Yankees and Red Sox are always going to have some kind of history. This is just the second time I think they played, and they're going to play like 19 other times or something crazy this year. So now you're setting up a complete tit for tat the rest of the way.
Right.
This thing's going to carry on. I think in the National League game, it was the tough slide to the second base. Maybe that was the Yankees and Red Sox one. I get that you want to get some revenge on that. In the National League, I understand it a little bit more. I prefer it in the National League because at least the pitcher doesn't have just free reign to beat everyone, and he'll never have to go to the plate. At least he'll have to go to the plate and could suffer the revenge consequence the other way.
I just feel like so much energy is exerted into chasing down the guy on the mound. I'm watching these ones from last night, and they're funny. And I really like the Yankee one with, I believe it was Tyler Alston is the guy. And he chops the bat into the ground like a very big show of emotion. Like, that's it. I've had enough. I'm coming your way right now. And whereas the Rockies, the guy just took it and then just charged. There was no, like, setup.
Right.
I feel like the Yankees last night, Tyler Alston was the player who got hit. I felt like it was a wrestling move where he comes out. Did you see the old wrestling moves? They would come out of the backstage or whatever, and then they would run down the rampway and dive into the ring, and they'd start wrestling right then.
Right.
That was like Tyler Alston last night. Like he slammed the bat down and then took off running, whereas the guy for the Rockies just got pegged, threw everything away, and took off. Like it was so dramatic yesterday.
Travis Hill might have the best nomination so far this morning about dumbest move in sports. He says, how about dropping the football at the 1-yard line as you're celebrating going into the end zone? One of the dumbest moves in sports.
Good one. Very good.
That one is unfathomable to those of us who do not run 4.40s, I think, and can clearly see that you haven't gotten to the end zone yet, man. You might think you have, but there's something that is lost in translation. I think a lot of times, too, it might be the angle that we have from behind and the cameras that make it look like he hasn't crossed the plane. And in reality, I think he probably had to at least a lot closer degree. But, yeah, that one is a fantastic nomination for the dumbest move in sports this morning. Robert Nelson with a write-in vote for preseason football rankings hours, in all caps, he says, after the national championship is done. He says that's pretty stupid. Preseason, not final rankings, preseason rankings. At least they call them the way too early top 25.
That's fun. That's good. Give you an idea. Gets me excited for the next season.
Oh, man, what a sucker. Justin weighing in with just the New York Jets in every NFL draft. Hashtag dumbest move in sports.
Yeah, what we've gotten the Knicks, we've gotten the Jets. Didn't somebody else give us another team? I mean, surprisingly, the ones just said the Cleveland Browns.
Right. Well, I think that's a given at this point.
Just
I think the other ones are just people that are actually fans of these teams, not pleased with how they make the moves.
I'm with you
in the offseason at this point. So who you got? Golfers to watch this weekend. Already underway at the Heritage. First few holes in the books. We already got Billy Horschel at 3 under, Rory Sabatini at 2 under. These guys are just through 5 and 4 holes respectively. Mark Leishman towards the top of the leaderboard already. He's 2 under through his first 2. Matt Kuchar up there. Martin Laird. These are big names. Billy Haas, South Carolina native, with an early birdie as well.
You asking when you say golfers to watch, or you asking me to pick who I want to? Kuchar is certainly, he's played really well down there. Jonathan Bird's another local guy, or is a local guy. We've talked about the local guys. Zach Johnson seems to play well down there. Wesley Bryan, obviously the defending champion. I look forward to watching him this weekend. They've got a good field. Jim Furyk always plays well down there. I think he's won it 2 or 3 times. Obviously DJ's down there, and unfortunately he's +1 through 2 right now. So you've got a pretty good field. I'm just kind of glancing to see who's teeing off later this afternoon, and if there's anybody that I would go with here. But right now I think the Heritage is a lot of fun. I think it's a great tournament. I've been multiple times on there. It's a totally different environment. It's fun sometimes trying to taking someone who's been to the Masters and never been anywhere else, and you got again the quiet, the pristine, and the kind of the just a different environment when you're at the Masters. I feel like when you're walking around the Masters, like, oh, I've got to be careful if I step right there. Don't want to make too much noise. Don't want to. You're really kind of honoring the place. Then you go to the Heritage and you're like, party. All right. Where's the party tent?
Isn't it the difference between the wedding and the reception?
That's a great analogy. I totally agree with you that. Yeah, you're at the wedding, you're quiet, you're trying to be respectful. Everybody's making sure their tie is tied properly. You go to the reception, it's open collar. You've got the uncle in the back getting boozed up. It's just a grand time.
It's always been referred to as spring break on the PGA Tour. I think maybe a little bit less so this week as opposed to years past, just because of those big names. I mean, just the fact that you got the world's #1 player there is a big deal for the Heritage.
Right.
And also that he's a South Carolina native in Dustin Johnson. You have a South Carolina native as a returning champion. I mean, this is about everything that the Heritage could ever ask for this year. With those two things combined, you got a South Carolina native #1, a South Carolina native defending champion, and both those guys obviously from Dutch Fork High School here in town, and Wesley Bryan being a former Gamecock gives even more storylines for us. You mentioned Jonathan Bird also in the field. He's a Spring Valley High School guy and a former Clemson guy. He's even through 5 holes this morning, and interested to see how the names mix in this thing, because you got a lot of big-name guys out there, not just from our area, but just in the world. I mean, Rory Sabatini is a guy who's from Spain, for instance. Mark Leishman from Australia. These are big-name guys, and having seen Leishman really in contention for a large part of the Masters, he's obviously riding a solid streak.
Well, the the state guys, you got Bryan and you got Johnson, obviously. We've talked about them. Jonathan Bird is another Midlands guy, but you've also got Bill Haas from Greenville. You got Kevin Kisner, who's in it. Kisner at times has played really well. Kisner from Aiken. So it's a nice Palmetto State field.
Well, more Clemson guys as well. Lucas Glover, Sam Saunders, Ben Martin, all in the field this week.
So, yeah.
I think Mark Silvers might be down there, former Gamecock as well. I'll look that up here.
It's a strong Palmetto State feel to it. And it's one of the better events we have in our state every year. And I think even if you're not a golf fan, everything going on out there in Harbor Town, you can go and you kind of experience. There's always good food, and Hilton Head's always a lot of fun. It's definitely worth a trip one time, I think, in your life to go down there and check it out.
I think Silvers has played in this thing before, not playing in it this year. Doc Redmond, the Clemson amateur, just a sophomore, won the USAM and played in the Masters over the weekend. He's in this week's field as well. And you got William McGirt, if you're looking for more South Carolina ties, former Wofford golfer, who has played well as of late, also in this week's field. Will be interesting to see how those guys do. Other international names in this thing, Charles Schwartzel, former Masters winner, and you got Carl Pedersen, Jeff Ogilvy, some other big-time names from outside the country. I was going to say outside the state, but obviously outside the country.
The guy that I thought used to be really good, Martin Keimer, is in it, and I think he was at the Masters because I believe he's got I think it's a U.S. Open, I believe.
Right.
And man, he is, I say falling apart, but I mean he's still on tour, but certainly he's not the guy that I thought would be one of the guys that would constantly always be in the mix.
Yeah, Martin Keimer is one of those guys internationally who you felt like is really hot at one point and like poised just to dominate golf for a while. Hasn't been able to take that next level step. And I don't know, I feel like Rory McIlroy got that knock for a while. Like he was supposed to be world #1 for a long, long time. He's a young guy who's in position to do it. And for whatever reason, man, it's really difficult in golf.
It is.
Jordan Spieth, I think, is a good example of that as well. Just can play so well. Record-setting pace on Sunday, and yet had struggled the day before, in position to be the world's #1 and hasn't been able to get that thing back.
It's the Tiger Woods effect. That's simply what we saw such dominance from Tiger week in, week out. When Tiger teed it up, you knew where he was going to be. And if he wasn't, and very rarely was he not at the front of the pack, but when he teed it up, you knew where he was going to be. And so I think when we see guys like McIlroy or Spieth or even a Dustin Johnson, and they're not in the top 3 each and every week, you go, they're just inconsistent. No, that's golf. Like you said, there's a lot of good golfers. It's a very tough sport to play. I mean, to see Jordan Spieth get the lead early on Thursday at the Masters and then struggle on Friday. And if you compare that to Tiger Woods, you go, wow, that's Tiger. I mean, Tiger would get the lead on Thursday, and by Saturday, everybody's playing for second or third place. And so, it's a different, again, the way Tiger Woods, not just with purses and money, but the way we view golf and the way we view golfers changed the landscape of the PGA Tour is just, it's phenomenal. But I think you're exactly right. You see a guy like Rory McIlroy who's having a good career. You see a guy like Jordan Spieth who's going to have a really good career. And these guys, and when they're not in contention each and every week, we go, inconsistent, or no, not as good as we thought they would be. Not worth all the hype. And that's because of the standard that Tiger Woods set.
Mm-hmm. When Spieth almost ran away with things a couple of years ago, you felt like maybe he could get to that rarefied Tiger kind of air, especially being as young as he was. But then to see him fall apart on number 12 with a couple of balls in the water, that was something we never saw with Tiger. That's why we got the kind of robot reputation of just being this machine that anytime he was in the lead on a Sunday, forget about it. It's done. Yeah. That's not normal. That's only Tiger, I think. And that's why a lot of people will still argue, even though the numbers don't quite compare to to Jack Nicklaus and the 18 majors that and then all the runner-ups, the 19 runner-ups I think Jack had as in major championships as well. Those numbers don't add up with Tiger, but a lot of people still argue that Tiger is the greatest golfer because of that just uncanny domination that we've seen, and now we compare others to. But when you hear a guy like Dustin Johnson say he was really disappointed in his putter letting him down, and not that he hit necessarily bad putts, he just didn't make them at the Masters, finishes in the top 10 still, and is yet still disappointed coming off of that. That's where expectations are. I think these golfers might do that to themselves too, might have raised expectations or somewhat unrealistic expectations because of what they saw with Tiger Woods.
There's no doubt. I mean, but you go out every time and you expect to win. Like you said, Dustin Johnson's at the point in his career. This is a nice tournament for him to play in. I think somebody hit me up earlier and said RBC is a new sponsor of his, so that probably played a large role in him playing in it this weekend. But with that being said, his year is geared around 4 tournaments, and that's the same as it is, I think, for Spieth and McIlroy. Maybe there's a tournament here, a tournament there that means a little bit more to him. Maybe the Shell Open for Jordan Spieth being from the Houston area. But the bottom line is those guys, he's right, man. You go into the Masters with the expectation to win. You finish top 10, that's nice, but he's not there to finish in the top 10. He's there to win it, and so it's a little disappointing.
I imagine as well as 1% of your vote on the Frank's Discount Tire poll question results. Taking a charge gets 1% of
that is unbelievable.
The vote. What's the dumbest move in sports? 6% of you going with charging the mound in baseball. I'm a little surprised that wasn't higher. 35% of you going with faking an injury in soccer. But the overwhelming winner today, 58% of you saying punching a helmet in football is the dumbest move in sports.